On today's show, what if I told you Quentin Grimes and Obi Toppin are the two best players in the NBA? Well, they were tonight on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
And welcome. You are Locked On NBA Game Night. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast. Still part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being in every day or making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Use that code Locked On NBA, and you can see what is all available for you at Prize Picks. Joining me, we back from the Locked On Bulls show. What'd you see in the NBA tonight, Pat the Designer?
I saw a lot of teams look like what I've seen the Chicago Bulls look like all at once. It was kind of impressive.
March basketball, baby. We're here. March basketball was in full swing. 10 games in the association. We'll talk about the Nuggets beating the Warriors without a lot of the Nuggets starters. We'll talk about the wild overtime game where the Pacers without their starters beat the Timberwolves with theirs. We'll talk about a bunch of other games that happened. The Heat did something they've never done before. The Sacramento Kings lose the starting center and still win the game. But let's start here, Pat. The wildest game of the night, in my book, was the Sixers against the Houston Rockets. Yeah. And the Sixers almost had this game. They suited up 9 players. They just played in Dallas. I just saw them play in Dallas yesterday at noon, and they play another game. They played a back-to-back, and Quentin Grimes went absolutely off again in this one. 46 points, a career high for him in this one, and hit 8 threes, 13 boards for him as well. An absolutely insane night on the Sixers side of it. Let's start with Jackson Gatlin from Locked On Rockets, because, oh my gosh.
Rockets extend their longest winning streak of the season to 7 games, rallying from down 25 to beat the 76ers in overtime, 144-137 on an absolute roller coaster of a game. Philly was leading by 8 with about a minute to go in this one. They just flat out could not miss from long distance in this game. Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. hit some really big shots to make it a one-possession game, 131-128. And with under 10 seconds left, Houston was able to force a huge turnover. Jalen Green gets a steal. They call a timeout. They have a chance to tie it up. Jabari Smith Jr. gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, hits 1. And then the Rockets need a miracle to force overtime at this point. And then Jabari Smith Jr. just on the second free throw, beautifully, perfectly misses it. And Alperen Sengun, who was subbed into the game for the first time in the fourth quarter, these are the first minutes he's played in the fourth quarter, has been largely benched in the second half, gets the offensive putback and ties the game up at 131 all, the biggest play of the game. And then Sengun proceeds to dominate the overtime period as the Rockets are able to gut out this win, a resilient win for a Houston Rockets team now riding their longest win streak of the season.
How are we in an NBA where O'Shea Brissett can play 43 minutes in an NBA game and Alperen Sengun, the all-star, can play 22 minutes, and that was including pretty much all of overtime?
Listen, it was a wild game in totality. I think when I watched it back, right, the third quarter for the Rockets was what really stood out to me. That's where offensively they just exploded. My guy, you're talking about 69% from the 3-point line alone. They were unstoppable. Dillon Brooks finally got back on his hot streak of shooting the 3-ball the way that we've seen him shoot it over the past few weeks. Remember when I said Dillon Brooks couldn't be a shooter in this NBA? That was a wild time ago.
Did not have to bring that back up. That's good accountability right there.
That was a tough take right there. But listen, I just feel like the Rockets in that third quarter really took over, outscored them 45-24. Defensively, it was like they woke up and were like, hey, the guys on the other side are Quentin Grimes, Justin Edwards, and O'Shea Brissett, right? Maybe we should start playing a little bit of defense on these guys. And then listen, when you talk about just perfect execution, and you can tell this is something that Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets have practiced ad nauseum, because Most guys can't just perfectly place it off the back of that rim to
That was nice.
Give you the easy tip-in opportunity. And Şengün just took advantage of the easiest bucket that he was going to see the entire night. And I love the fact that once it got to overtime, it was almost like they woke up and it was GG's. You had to call it a game. I mean, offensively, Şengün finally got himself going a little bit. Jalen Green started to wake up a little bit. And again, the defensive end is kind of where they started to lock down. Love what we saw from Houston tonight.
I don't love what we saw from Houston tonight at all. This Sixers team with nobody, with Ricky Council, whose two brothers are also named Ricky Council. He's the fourth because there's his dad and his two brothers are all named Ricky Council. Jared Butler was the starter. Do you know who Alex Reese is?
I do know who Alex Reese is.
An NBA scout looked at me yesterday and said, I don't know who that is.
You want to know why I know who Alex Reese is? Because Alex Reese is number 65, and he's definitely the first number 65.
Does he play offensive guard for them? Does he play guard for them?
But you want to know why I say, you want to know why I love it?
I just don't like this game from the Rockets. This game, they were down by 8 with a minute left. They needed a miracle to win this game.
You want to know why I say I love it, though? Because these are the games where every now and then a game like this happens for a good basketball team. And sometimes it's just like, what the heck happened to us tonight? But the Houston Rockets don't give up. They don't quit. Those are the things you need to see out of good playoff teams, not just playoff teams, out of good playoff teams. This is the first franchise win in history after trailing by 25 plus points in the second half. First franchise win for a team this year that was trailing by 8+ points in the final minutes since March 17th of 2023, I should say. And the first win by a team this season that never led in regulation. That just shows that this Rocket team doesn't have a quit, doesn't give up. And on any night, it can be another NBA team's night.
It's hard for me to play the adversity card with the Rockets, but they did go through some things at the end of this game. Yeah. With like 4 minutes left, Tari Eason fouls out. He got 4 fouls in the fourth quarter, which was wild. And you also had, with like a minute left, Oshae Brissett gets a block on Fred VanVleet's 3, which the Rockets broadcast was trying to say, oh, that's such a foul, when he like high-fived him after the 3. Like, that, come on, guys, it's not a foul. Then Fred VanVleet goes down on the other end and runs into Oshae Brissett and blocks the ball, hits the ball first, and they call a flagrant foul 2 on that and eject him. So they lose Tari Eason and Fred VanVleet in the course of like 3 minutes for things that they probably shouldn't have gotten kicked out for. But the Rockets still should have won this game with more. I'm not super impressed by this one for them. Let's go to Miami, New York Knicks. The Knicks run away with this game, and they win 116-95. They run away with it in the third quarter. You got Josh Hart doing a lot when the Knicks went on a 16-0 run, a 38-10 run overall during that third quarter. An absolutely great quarter for them. But I want to focus on the Heat in this one because they have never lost 8 straight games under Erik Spoelstra, and now they have done this. I talked to Wes Goldberg today of Locked On Heat. He has not been as down on a Heat team as I've ever seen him. What do we make of this Heat team right now?
Listen, it's bad. The Miami Heat, I mean, you mentioned the 8 straight games. I don't even think that's where we got to begin the conversation here. At this point, the Heat have now blown
not 8, not 9, not 10, not 11. Can we go more?
The Miami, we can. How about 18? How about 18 for you? The Heat have now blown a double-digit lead in 18 games this season. They have led by at least 13 in all 3 losses, by the way, versus the Knicks this season. Like, this Heat team is one who, and listen, I understand the talent is a little bit different, but I think the Jimmy Butler ripples are still being felt in that building. The effect of that is still being felt in that building, and they've never been able to right themselves from there. Defensively, they look like a shell of whatever they maybe once were, and I don't even know if we could say that they were that this season. Like, it's a weird fall off, dare I say, where you know how in football you say, you got to have a burn the tape week. This may be a burn the tape year for the Miami Heat. You may just have to burn the entire season and go, we're just going to start playing basketball again next year.
There's something about that hold it all together glue guy that Jimmy Butler has proven to be for the Warriors. Now, they didn't get a win tonight, but they have been good with him, that the Heat just seem to be lacking. But it is wild to see this team with 2 All-Stars. Bam has been an All-Star. Tyler Hero was an All-Star this year. To see that those 2 guys struggle so much. And I mean, you got Terry Rozier, like Moneyline Rozier out there playing 5 minutes. He's a shell of himself and hasn't been the same. Jaime Jaquez has not stepped up offensively, and he missed a couple threes in a row, and it just did not look like he had the confidence there. And they've had some young, interesting pieces, and Killel Ware and Davion Mitchell has done some stuff for them. But man, it's just not coming together for this Heat team. They're in the play-in, and that's kind of where they sit right now. Coming up, let's get into another team that is in the play-in. The Minnesota Timberwolves drop a game to Obi Toppin, the mighty Toppin, and the Pacers. We'll get into that and more coming up. Locked on NBA. Locked on NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked on NBA Game Night is brought to you by our friends over at Hungry Root. I've got a problem where I just have too many things going on all the time, and I've got to figure out how to eat healthy, got to figure out how to get groceries, got to figure out how to meal prep, got to figure out how to plan meals, and do it in within a budget as well. If you've got that same problem too, check out Hungry Root. It's a game changer, honestly. It really is. It is like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of grocery shopping, recommending meals, groceries based on taste and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options, all that stuff. And the best part of it is you can get meals done in 15 minutes or less. Quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to your door. It's awesome. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as we do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA, hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. Also brought to you by Monarch Money. I've been using Monarch Money, and honestly, it is a game changer. If you've used any other money budgeting app or budgeting program or something like that, this one combines all the greatest things of all those into one. If you've used Mint before, this is now like the spiritual successor to Mint. That's what they told us about it. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, all your investments, your saving all in one spot, and you can set up individual like savings goals. I love that because I've got all my money in like a high yield savings account, but I want to set up different kind of goals for each part of it. Take control of all your finances with Monarch Money. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is an amazing deal. 50% off your first whole year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for 50% off your first year. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. We've got a show that covers your favorite team. Check the link in the description to find a show like Locked On Bulls, like Locked On Mavs. If those are your favorite teams, I guess you're in the right spot. But if your favorite team is the Minnesota Timberwolves, this is a tough one for you because the Timberwolves dropped one to the Indiana Pacers. No Halliburton, no Pascal Siakam, so no All-Stars, no Miles Turner either. Yeah. It was the fighting bench squad for the Indiana Pacers. Let's hear from Tony East of Locked On Pacers.
My job to talk about it, but I'm not sure I have the words for that Pacers win over the Timberwolves. Wow. 132-130. The final score is the Pacers win a road game in Minnesota. The Timberwolves had won 8 in a row entering this one. Julius Randle hadn't lost a game since January. The Pacers did not have Pascal Siakam. They did not have Aaron Nesmith. Andrew Nembhard was playing really well. He got ejected in the third quarter after his second technical foul. Benedict Mathurin was playing pretty well. He fouls out in the fourth quarter. And the Pacers still found a way to get it done. Tony Bradley on a 10-day was great. Obi Toppin, 34 points, the most he's ever had as a Pacer. He could not miss a 3 in the overtime period. TJ McConnell had some big plays. Quentin Jackson had some big plays. A crazy game from the Zombie Pacers and a huge one for them to not only get some important rest for their best players, but get a win. Huge for their playoff chase. They go home for 11 of their next 15. We'll have much more on Locked On Pacers.
TJ McConnell had a drive right by Jaden McDaniels to tie the game with 4 seconds left. That was absolutely wild. And then he mentioned Obi Toppin. 4 threes in overtime, 12 points to lead all scorers in overtime. Thomas Bryant had another 3, and he was the only other player that scored for the Pacers in overtime. It was just the Obi Toppin show. Absolutely wild game from him. 7 threes total, 10 board, 34 and 10 for Obi Toppin.
Yeah, listen, I love how Rick Carlisle said it. He gave him the praise after the game. He says Obi Toppin had one of the most spectacular runs at the end of the game that I've ever seen. Listen, sometimes you're just hot. I mean, he had 7 threes on the day as a whole. Sometimes you are just having yourself a day and you can't miss. And it seems like you're shooting the basketball into the ocean. That's what it seemed like from Obi Toppin today. The fall away corner fading
the last
3 off just cashing that for the game. Like And I got to say this too. If you're the Timberwolves now, bad loss.
Definitely.
If it took Obi Toppin 7 threes to beat you, dog, you know the scouting report today was let Obi shoot.
Why are we letting Quentin Grimes score 46 points? And why are we letting Obi Toppin score 34 points against our teams? Like, how is that what these playoff caliber teams are allowing? And we're like, you know what? You got hats off to these teams. Like, I'm not giving the Timberwolves credit for this one.
I'm not giving them credit, but I just feel like the scouting report on Obi Toppin was definitely, let him shoot. Do we know he's not going to knock down the three at a consistent rate? And then all of a sudden it's just like, wait a minute, he's 7?
The second to last one he hit was with 26 seconds left, and Randall is guarding him, and him and Jaden McDaniels are supposed to switch, and Randall like kind of lazily doesn't really switch because Obi Toppin's coming off of a dribble handoff from TJ McConnell, and you don't expect him to turn the corner and just like bank a three, like a step back three right off of that. So I guess I can give him credit for that play, but if you're the Timberwolves, man, this is not good enough. And let's hear from Ben Beacon of Locked On Timberwolves.
The 8-game win streak came to a close at the hands of none other than Obi Toppin on Monday night. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast. And the Wolves came back from a game they trailed by double digits to a Pacers team that's been struggling a little bit of late. Down 3 key rotation players. They came back in the second half after Rudy Gobert and Andrew Nembhard were both ejected in the third quarter after a brief altercation. Gobert with the flagrant 2. The Wolves were sparked, came back, took a nice lead in the fourth quarter. The Pacers came back and tied it, and ultimately in overtime, after Ant hit a couple of free throws to put the Wolves up 2 with under 10 seconds to play, Obi Toppin hits a fall-away three-pointer in the corner, improbably. An improbable shot, an improbable night for Obi Toppin, making a career-high 7 three-pointers in the game. The Wolves could not score in a last-second Julius Randle attempt in the paint, and they lost by 2 to the Pacers in overtime. We're going to break the whole game down over at Locked On Wolves.
Yeah, go listen to Locked On Wolves for the fallout on that one because, that is a tough one.
And see, that's my problem. The finish is my problem, right? I can deal with. Now, you shouldn't have been down. This is one where the T-Wolves had no excuses. You shouldn't have been down. You shouldn't lose this game, right? Where the Rockets, I give credit because you pull it out. You got to take that for which one. You got to. You got to win this game. The final play to Julius Randle. Who's drawing that up? What are we?
The spin middle and the jumper. I mean, he got the jumper off. It's not a terrible play because he got close to the
ball
rim.
In his hands? Why is the ball in his hands?
Because that's the only thing he's good at.
Why is the ball in his hands? I'm not like that. To me, that is the thing. Like, you have your number one guy. Stop trying to be this. Oh, we're gonna be no.
Anthony Edwards shot 37% too. It's not like he was on fire in this one either.
If I'm gonna,
why am I taking up for Julius Randle?
If I don't know. I don't need to. I don't want to live or die in this game. I'm dying off of an Anthony Edwards bucket, not a Julius Randle.
Well, it was going to be a
spin.
It was going to be a free throw because he went 19 of 20 from the free throw line in this one. I mean, odds are he was going to get to the free throw line, but yeah, they didn't get him the ball. Julius Randle got the ball. I think he had a chance to get it to Ant. I think there was a passing window there from my vantage point, but he didn't. He just spun and went into it. And that's kind of been the problem with the Timberwolves that we've talked about a lot this season. Yeah. The Warriors have had a problem with size all season and for a while now. And they struggle against a Nuggets team that doesn't have Jokic, Murray, Christian Brown all out in this one, a wild one where the Nuggets win 114 to 105. Aaron Gordon, I could have added him to the Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin All-Stars today. 38 points from Aaron Gordon in this one. What did you see from the Nuggets and what did you see from the Warriors?
Listen, I'll tell you what, the Nuggets played a smart brand of basketball that fit the team that they had today. It's not the same brand that we have seen them consistently play. It was a brand of attacking. What Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon were doing, I mean, just continuously cutting to the rim, allowing lanes for Russell Westbrook to be opened up. I think it forced Golden State to go into a defensive game plan of, guess what? We're just going to let Russ shoot. And Russ was having a tough night shooting the three. And that's kind of when you start to see the Warriors creep back into it. And then one goes down and then two goes down. And then you go, oh, wait a minute. It might be our night. And sometimes that's all you need. Like the adjustment that I thought Denver had tonight to everything that the Warriors were trying to do. I thought that it was probably one of Mike Malone's best coach games of the season, especially not having the best talent out there. And to me, this is what you need to see from that Denver team more often, where it's like, hey, we can adjust to whoever we're playing against and whatever matchup we have here. I thought they did a really good night of adjusting to the fact that they didn't have Jokic out there.
19 offensive rebounds for the Nuggets. I mean, you get your own misses, you put it back, you play with size, and they just played with. I felt like they played with a lot more bigs, and even though they didn't have any bigs, they had Aaron Gordon, Porter Jr., Peyton Watson, Hunter Tyson. Like they had some guys out there that looked bigger than the Warriors, and we're taking advantage of that for sure at the end there. And then Westbrook running the show, 16 assists for Westbrook. It felt like the Westbrook of the end of his Thunder run, where he was just kind of like messing around getting triple doubles because it was a good day.
Yeah, no, 100%. Listen, and like I said, 2 for 9 on the day. He was 0 for 7 going into that. I just need the 2, baby. All I need is the 2, and that can get us there. And I'll tell you what, like I don't, you don't see a lot of Vlatko Kankar.
Chanchar, good try.
Kankar.
Slovenian boy.
He's got a little Jokic in his game, just the look of him, not the actual play of him, just the look of him. There were a couple of times tonight where I looked out on the court and I was like, I thought Jokic wasn't playing. Oh, wait a minute, that's Chanchar.
Listen, I know we all look alike, but it's just Eastern. He's just Eastern European, man.
Dog, there was a few times tonight where I looked out on the court and I was like, oh, who's that 6'8" beast out there? Oh, never mind.
Coming up, let's talk about the rest of the games of the association. Sabonis, another European big, goes out with an injury. And if you're Cooper Flagg and the Pelicans get the number 1 pick, my guy, what are you doing?
Give up.
Talk about that coming up. Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. If you're like us and you are watching March basketball and you're enjoying March basketball, but want to enjoy it a little bit more, use Prize Picks, because all you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players' stat projections for a shot up to win 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use, available in over 30 states, including Texas, my state of Texas. So you can do that as well and play the game. You can build lineups. You can pick one player in one game, another player in one. If you had more on Obi Toppin and the more on Quentin Grimes tonight, hats off to you. That is an amazing Prize Picks play that you could have played tonight. Download the app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play a first $5 lineup. Put $5 down on a lineup. Code LOCKEDONNBA. You get that $50 to use on anything else on Prize Picks. Check out daily fantasy made easy. Prize Picks, run your game.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown. Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup. Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free. It's your team every day.
Big chicken, baby.
Zion Williamson and porn star.
Take that from that.
Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
I'm back.
It's Counted Up, where we count on the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. Not so fun, but definitely interesting. Sabonis had quite a night getting injured tonight, because earlier in the game, about the second quarter, he gets hit in the eye by Luke Kennard, has to go out and get stitches. Yep. He comes back in the game. The beginning of the third quarter, has an ankle injury and doesn't even take his free throws that he was supposed to take to end the game there, or to end his time there, and leaves and just is like screams a word that I can't say on this show as he's leaving. Really, really tough one. The Kings go on to actually win this game against the Grizzlies. Desmond Bane goes off for 44 for the Grizzlies, but the Kings win it 132 to 122. Pat, if Sabonis is out for an extended period of time, it's time to pack up the Kings?
Listen, it's the Kings are a tough team anyway. The size that Sabonis brings, I think, is really the thing that allows them to be put over the top. The rebounding that he offers there, you now are talking about the Sacramento Bulls kind of going out there. And
they got it done. Levine and DeRozan and
they weren't
Malik Monk to Kobe White. Like,
I mean, you basically traded out old Vooch for younger Vooch. No, but no, I think that it's going to be a tough situation for you to be able to dominate down low as much. Now, DeMar DeRozan in these moments, I will say, in the past has really stepped up when guys have been out. Depends on how long Sabonis is going to be out with this injury, but how he left, it kind of does make you feel like this could be something that ends up being lengthy.
The thing, them getting Valanciunas allows them to have somebody to step in, which has been a good thing for them this season so far. But yeah, without Sabonis, like, I don't know. Could they win a play-in game? Sure, but are they going to win the second one? And are they going to go to the playoffs and do anything? That's a really tough one. It's really tough watching the Pelicans at any point. And shout out to Jake Madison for watching this Pelicans team every single day, because that is absolutely wild. They're already missing a bunch of guys, but Trey Murphy has suffered a season-ending torn labrum in his right shoulder. They lose to the Pistons 127-81 in this game. Knowing these injuries and just how cursed the Pelicans seem to be right now, my question is,
Count it up.
Pat, if you're Cooper Flagg and the Pelicans get the number 1 pick, they have 12.5% chance to get it right now. What do you do if you're Cooper Flagg?
Go back to college.
He did say, I would like to come back. I would like to come back.
I'm very serious on this because it's a different world that we play in, right? Not to say that you're going to make the same amount of endorsements that you're going to make in the NBA, but as many times as you can, if the Pelicans get the pick, go back to college. Because the one thing that you can guarantee that the Pelicans are not going to do is develop a top pick or develop a talented player. They'll find some guys. That's fun and
they've developed guys. Like they've developed guys. They're just cursed, and those guys get hurt. Anthony Davis, Zion, now Trey Murphy, Herb Jones gets hurt, DeJounte Murray is hurt. It's like they find these diamonds in the rough sometimes. Like I'll take up for them with that. It's just, man, what team are you even playing with next season?
Listen, I've seen a lot of talent go through the Pelicans' door, and we always say the same thing. Wow, this could really be a good team. They could finally gel. They could figure some things out. When have they done it? We haven't seen a good New Orleans team since Chris Paul played there.
No, since 2012. Didn't they beat the Blazers in that first round series? That's the last time. That's the last time. Remember the Drew Holiday? That was a great team right there.
Again, fun team. Very fun.
That's it. I mean, that's what they got. That's why if you're Cooper Flagg, yeah, I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, Duke looks good for another year. Can y'all cancel all my classes though? I'm a professional basketball player.
The Suns get a win against a team that's not really playing professional basketball, and that's the Toronto Raptors. We talked about them on the Eastern Conference Squad Show today. Let's hear from our guy, Clown Garcia from Locked On Suns. Shout out to KD.
Phoenix Suns get a much-needed W, 129-89, defeating the Toronto Raptors at home in a game that it felt like you really needed. The Phoenix Suns have clearly been struggling recently with coming off a loss against Los Angeles Lakers. These are games you have to win. These are gimme games. And for the first time maybe all season, the Suns ran a team out of the building and stepped on their throat. Is it a sign of things to come? I don't know. Are they back to being title contenders? No. But overall, when you see rookies like Oso Ighodaro and Ryan Dunn have a day, that makes you excited for the future. And it's not only just them. Cody Martin, the newest Phoenix Sun, showing up, making a late push for the Dan Marley Hustle Award.
All right, I'm out on the Dan Marley. I'm out. We start bringing up the Hustle Award for the Suns. My question on the Suns is,
Count it up.
They have 13 games left. How many would they have to win for you to be confident that they would make the playoffs?
13. The Phoenix Suns are a bad basketball team. Like, dog, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I look at the Bulls and I look at the Suns and I go, it's not so bad.
I saw somebody post today, if the Suns wanted to waive and stretch the CBA clause where you can like spread out a player's contract over 5 years, if they waived and stretched Bradley Beal, they would pay $22 million a year for him for 5 years.
Bro, I get going all in. Listen, I hope that Matt Ishiba's brother buys a few more stocks in the White Sox so that he can spend money the way that Matt is doing in the NBA, because it works in baseball. It don't work here in basketball.
It's not working.
Listen, when you give me Oso Ighodaro minutes and you're trying to hype me up on those, hey, I'm gonna tell you, as somebody who has watched Patrick Williams for a long time,
$90 million worth.
Oso Ighodaro. There you go. That's basically the same dude.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was bad.
Elsewhere out west, where another team is having a much better time at it for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe the conspiracy can be talked about, but the Lakers get a win against the Spurs.
Zany Kamenetsky, co-host of Locked on Lakers podcast, and the Lakers get a 125-109 win over the Spurs in LA. Largely a very professional win with just enough effort and focus, only 9 turnovers, to control the game from basically start to finish on the second end of a back-to-back. Austin Reeves, 30 points, 12 of 21 from the field. He hit 5 threes to go along with 7 rebounds and 6 assists. Luka Doncic struggled from the field, 5 of 20 for 21 points, but did have 14 dimes against just 3 turnovers, also had 3 steals. Dorian Finney-Smith and Jordan Goodwin, very nice support. They combined for 30 points and 7 threes. The only potential downside of this game for the Lakers was Jared Vanderbilt getting ejected for some shoving with Jeremy Sohan. Hopefully no suspension. He'll be needed Wednesday versus Denver.
How many guys got ejected tonight? I think it was like 4 or 5 guys got ejected. So Luka Doncic, 21 points, 14 assists. Austin Reeves, 30 points, 6 assists as well. Dalton Knecht, 13 points off the bench. My question is,
Count it up.
do the Lakers have the most exciting whites in the league?
There's a case for that. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a case for that. Well, Luka does a lot of carrying on.
Have you
that.
seen that meme where it's the wine
Exciting
wine
whites,
label
yeah.
where it says the exciting whites?
Listen, you got it's different iterations of Lakers, brother. You got the Showtime Lakers. You got the Kobe and Shaq Lakers, and you got the exciting whites.
You got the exciting whites. You got LeBron and the exciting whites.
LeBron and the exciting whites. You want to know what I love about this game? This game, when I watched the game, it literally felt like
You did not watch this game.
Oh, I have 4 TVs going. When you have, I always have basketball.
Pat's third eye was watching this game.
But no, when I look at this game, right, like it literally felt like Luka looked at Austin and was like, "I'm putting stuff up tonight, but it's your night. Have fun."
There was a point where Luka missed an and one, and it went off the front of the rim, and he thought he should have made it, and it kind of looks like he scratched his nose with his middle finger and like flicked off the rim, like he was mad at the rim for it not going in.
And then he had a beer.
A team that is not. He probably did, and Rob Pelinka probably didn't reprimand him for it. He probably just told him a Bible story. The team that is not putting the ball in the rim a lot, and speaking of, I guess, Bible stories, is the Utah Jazz, who lose. They've got their own. It's their own book up there, Utah. Let's hear from our boss, David Locke, who I'm glad is not listening to this part.
Chicago Bulls came to Utah having won 4 of their last 5, and through the first half of the game, it was a close one. The Jazz trailed the Bulls by just 1 at half.
And then they lost because the Jazz are the most egregious tanking team in the NBA, Pat.
$100K. $100K.
They got fined,
bro. I legitimately
during the season.
I'm not gonna lie to you. There was a part of tonight's game where I'm watching it, and of course, like, it's a painful watch, so I'm trying to watch it and every other game that is on the TVs up there. And I literally looked and I was like, "Did Larry get hurt?" And then he just walks out, like skips out after the fourth quarter is over, almost to say, "I'm very healthy." Like,
and the check still clears. The check still clears. The check still clears.
I get paid on Tuesday. I get like, I was just like, there was literally moments in the fourth quarter where I just looked and I was like, "Is Larry Markkinen dead? Did I miss something?" By the way, he was a target of the Bulls tonight. His defense has gotten worse since he left Chicago.
Oh, no. Everything has gotten worse because they just don't care. This team does not care at all this season. Their tactics have been absolutely wild. Team that has kind of cared, but not really, is the Washington Wizards. They lose 97-112. But the Blazers get a win. The Blazers have been looking pretty good lately. The Blazers have been looking like a competent team. They get some good contribution from Anthony Simons, 30 points from him. They get some pretty good play off the bench from Duop Reith with 15 points off the bench. They get Denny Avdia with 15 points in the starting lineup. But my question, because I started to think about this Blazers team a little differently, is
Count it up.
How much has your opinion changed of Chauncey Billups as a coach this season?
I'm going to be honest with you. Did we ever think Chauncey couldn't coach?
Yeah, I thought Chauncey Billups was a bad coach the last couple of years.
I never thought that Chauncey Billups was a bad coach. I looked at that Blazers team and I was like, wow, they have selected some terrible basketball players.
I have watched some bad lineups and some bad plays being run for the Portland Trailblazers the last couple of years. And maybe it's just because they weren't trying to win, and now they've just decided, all right, we've got enough. We've got a collection of these young guys now. Now we're just going to try. But my opinion has changed a lot on him, and maybe I was just wrong last year on him.
Yeah, listen, I think for me, whenever I watch Portland basketball. By the way, you talk about, I didn't watch the Lakers game. I actually did tap into that one. I didn't watch this game. I can guarantee you, I did not tap in.
I was going to say
the Lakers game was on a TV. This was not. But the one thing that I will say about what Chauncey Billups has done this season that I do like is he's kind of changed. I want to say his mindset on who's bringing the ball up and how he's allowing guys to get comfortable on the court. Denny Avdia very much has been a ball handler this season for him. And dare I say, he's almost trying to turn him into the point guard that he kind of played, the point forward he kind of played at when he was overseas. And it's kind of worked in a positive response for this Blazers team, allowing everybody else to get more comfortable. But I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that Anthony Simons is putting the ball in the bucket all of a sudden really makes life a lot easier for the Blazers.
He's been so good. I'm interested to see what happens with him next year with the Blazers or with the rest of his career, where he decides to go. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. Go check out the great shows all the time. Links in the description. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA Game Night. Bye-bye. Boom.